Oh, that's like 4. Oh, 8. How many microphones?
This one doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one doesn't work. So the only ones are, we should have 7. So that's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's 8. That's 8. Full 8.
Yeah.
Okay, it is what it is. I'll just talk loud.
If you want, I can just keep it in mind and just pass it over to mine, whatever.
Yeah.
So that I'm sorry.
Yeah, basically.
We're good to go.
Mix this one. Webex should be fine right now. His gallery don't bank account.
So if you want some more, what do you want? What do you want? You gotta know. Tuesday.
A little bit late, but hopefully good enough.
Like that.
Yeah. What did you need? Panelists? Mike goes down the road and then we'll get started. Okay?
Is someone adjusting the volumes?
No. Ready. Fazil, can you check it?
Test.
Yeah, I think it'll be clear.
Voices about us. You're just one. Word.
Good. Hello. This is 1, 2, 3. Good.
Yeah.
Right. Good.
Katie, you ready? Okay, here we go.
All right.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming by. A lot of people are going to miss out in this in-person attendance because you get to firsthand meet the panelists and maybe be able to have good connections later on. As you know, this is going to be UTA's Epsilon Mu, HKN's Epsilon Mu's first time hosting this event, the career development powered any more to come in the future semesters. Real quick, we're going to introduce the panelists one by one. Let's get started with Dr. Boyer. Dr. Boyer, can you give a quick intro about yourself for the live?
Oh, sure. So I joined UTA as a professor about a year and a half ago, and thrilled to be there. I want to thank HKN and IEEE for hosting this event, and I'm glad that all of you are here. It's been a privilege in my entire career to help people develop their careers, whether they're graduates or anywhere they are in their career. I started mine actually in the gas industry as a high school intern in the 80s, and knew then that energy was something that I wanted to get into. And then throughout college, I co-opted with Dow Chemical and kind of honed in, really realized I really enjoy the new technology development side of things. So decided to go to graduate school, and from there I worked with in renewables. I worked with traditional generations of petrochemicals, and I really enjoyed it. It's a thrilling just area to be in energy, and this is a great time more than ever to also be in this area.
How about you, Mark? Can you give a quick intro about yourself?
Sure, I'm a Carpenter. I started oil 1972. Started in Wisconsin College, working various engineering jobs. Became manager of the transmission engineering group, systems world, CTO, CIO, transmission systems.
How about you, John?
So Mark started in 1972, and I started my career in 1974. So we're over 50 years. I was at Purdue University. I got inducted into HKN as a second year student, and that was 54 years ago. Been in HKN, and I joined IEEE 54 years ago also. Specialized since graduate school in power system automation, power system engineering. Worked for 6 companies for 50 years, retired from GE about 15 months ago, do part-time consulting work now. Very active in IEEE and Distribute Tech conference this week. A lot of different organizations. So, thank you.
How about you, Fazil? Can you get us started?
Yeah, hey, good evening. Boz, with my Boz as well. Based here in Dallas, here the whole time. And my dad's actually a graduate of UTA, electrical engineering, class of 81, which is pretty neat. I myself went to Texas A&M. I studied economics, and I studied trying to get out as quickly as possible because I found that my ability to learn was better when I was in the field applying myself and getting paid. So, you know, I'm also not obviously as technical as you guys are learning to become, but in time I've learned a lot of those things. And so currently at a company called Generac. It's a 65-year-old American OEM manufacturer, and we focus on the distributed energy resource side of the industry. Thanks.
That's something we can be.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Wei-Jen, and different from us, that I try to stay at the school as long as I can. So I have been here. I'm a UTA product, and I have been. This is my 43rd years at UTA. Came to UTA back in 1982, and yes, I involved a lot of electrical activities, and in addition, as a professor. Couple years ago, as the president of the Industry Application Society, and currently, I am co-chair the Future Direction Committee, one of the initiative that the SubTech initiative, and so that is on the climate change. In the currently, it's not a very popular topics. So,
All right, and of course, I saved the best for last. I am IEEE-HKN's Epsilon group here at UTA's president, and I can't wait to let's dive into these questions, okay? So as the format states, we're gonna hit top 10 questions that are received, and after that, we're gonna go to a live and online Q&A. So feel free, as you're listening or paying attention, come up with your own questions that you want these panelists to answer. All right, so let's get started. First question will be, with the rapid rise of renewable energy and AI-driven power grids and decentralized energy systems, what will the energy sector workforce look like in 10 years? What skills will be the most in demand? Get us started, John.
Well, at industry meetings today, when we have like a panel session, we always finish a panel session with a question of each of the panelists. What's the biggest challenge to you today in getting, with the work you're doing? And typically the biggest challenge is a lot of work to do, but we can't find enough qualified people hired to do the work. So the power energy field is one that there's tremendous demand, but not enough supply. So it's a great field to be in. to study. The thing that the workforce, the problems that we solve, you can't be a specialist anymore. You really need to be interdisciplinary. So you want to be familiar with and study as many different things as you can. And it's not, there's a lot of aspects to power engineering, but in addition, data science is extremely important. And there's a lot of applications of power electronics in the power systems. So these are power electronics, power systems, data science. You really want to be as familiar with as many things as you can. And the last thing is, and this is when we interview, this is important, is it's very important to be a team player. Don't answer an interviewer's question by saying, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. You could have a tremendous GPA and great credentials, but you won't be hired because you'll disrupt a team culture in a company. So be very team oriented and speak as if the team was successful and you weren't, and you helped the team be successful.
What about Fazil? What are your thoughts on this question?
Yeah, business trends and skills demand. I mean, I think hit nail on the head there. I think that you guys, especially being here in Texas, are in such an amazing opportunity. The demand that is coming for power is just, we need everything. We need talent. We need all forms of energy. We need teamwork across legislation and regulators and companies that are all trying to solve these problems to meet these demands. So, whether you go into power electronics or, figuring out how to improve the distribution system and integrate distributed resources or transmission level with mega projects, there's so much opportunity right now. And I think that, again, I'm a non-technical background. So what has helped me be successful is exactly what was just said, which is, especially right now with the pace of innovation, you got to stay abreast of things that are moving very fast and lean on your network and make great connections, and you'll have a great opportunity.
How about you, Dr. Lee, knowing that you're coming from an education side?
Well, from the education side, and of course, I will echo John's comment. Basically, you need a broader knowledge. Even you are working on the power system, officially you are electrical engineer. Broadly speaking, you are engineer. So you have to cover a lot of knowledge and understand the interdisciplinary area to basically perform your job. So of course, from the academic point of view, we would like to give you as much as possible on the technical background. So when you graduate, you equip them with non-technical skills to work on your project to establish your career. And then the other one is, yes, in today's world, is the teamwork. So you have to work with other people, and that basically is not just a technical skill, how you communicate, how you basically explain your idea, and how you formulate the problem, how you solve the problem, become a very important skill. And I always tell people now, today is basically the golden opportunity for the power engineer.
Okay. Those are some good responses. Well, moving on to the next question. I know that growing up here and studying here under UTA, I want to be a leader. I want to lead the industry and advance on where we're at in society. So my question will be, the power grid has changed drastically over the last few decades, from the traditional centralized power plants to more dynamic distributed systems. How has the leadership in this industry evolved to keep up with these shifts? Mark, why don't we get started since you want to get on?
The leadership hasn't changed. The leadership, information, all those things change all the time. The fundamentals of leadership are just not that complex. So, even things so, you always want to treat people, expect you to be. You always want to self-explain, share with. You got to the relationships, maintain very strong interactive relationships. Leadership has first recognized organization in the government. Very serious, do not confuse leadership with organization. And you get leadership responsibilities with a position that all of us know, whether it's the classroom or the sports team, the true leaders just kind of involved. And the other thing I would suggest you do is when you're first starting out, look at the culture of the people you're at. Look at the leaders, the ones you really seek for the leaders, whether they be in leadership position or not, and figure out what they're doing. Just watch their behavior. See what's working with them. I think things about just institute to what works. Again, do not leadership is it will time.
What are your thoughts, John?
You know, in 2006 to 7, I was the IEEE PES president, Power Energy Society president. And that was a time when many of the leaders in our industry did not have a technical background. They were managed utilities at many of our industry organizations, or they may have had a technical but not a power background. So we surveyed the industry and we said, you know, what are top training needs in the industry? And one is power system basics, because many of the folks in the industry had positions, but they didn't know the basics of the power system. So we put a one-day course together when I was president called Power System Basics that's still taught 6 times a year. It's part of a plain talk series with IEEE-PS. Second was the basics of the distribution system service, basics of transmission. So I think, you know, you're a leader, you really want to assess what background do you have, you know, to manage a group of people. You don't have to be an expert, you have experts underneath you, but you want some familiarity with that to be able to guide a team. And these courses were very well received, and they still are. Okay. Second thing would be, I think, as a leader, is humility. You know, team player stressing, team concept, and decisive. You know, being able to be strategic, decisive, but just to me, the best leader is a natural leader that is like a magnet. People just seem to gravitate to look for decisions, to look for direction, without somebody saying, you do what that person says because they're your boss. It's just a natural leader. And if you have those qualities, that's the best type of leader you can be.
That's good. What about you, Dr. Or since I know you came from the industry and transition to education?
And they both gave great answers about leaders, so I'm going to focus a little bit on the leadership that's needed to make change. Right? The energy industry has gone through a lot of change and is going to continue to go through a lot of change. So most within the hierarchical organization of most large companies, when you become, your responsibility is basically to keep things the way they are, because that's how they're made efficiently. Right? Change is very inefficient. And so it takes a different kind of leader that is willing to take risks and willing to describe risks, analyze risks, understand risks, and mitigate those risks and bring those type of solutions to the people that are needed to make these changes take place. So I'd say in energy specifically, as we're going through changes, you really have to be a leader, someone who really understands risk and knows how to take risks and just deal with risk. Which also, risk is called risk because it involves a lot of failure, even though the reward can be great. So it's also knowing how to deal with failure, how to turn around failure, and also how to deal with success and make success, like John said, a team effort with credit to everybody.
Nice.
I know that when I entered my mentorship last summer, one of the struggles that I actually did have was getting out of my comfort zone. When they assigned us a person, I stuck with that person until later on, I was able to be getting out of my comfort zone and meet others. So my question now is, many students graduate with strong technical knowledge, but struggle with applying it in the workforce. What are the most critical non-technical skills young engineers should develop to succeed in the energy sector? Dr. Wei-Jen, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, that is when you talk about the technical, of course, you need a very strong technical skill. However, just a strong technical skill is not enough for a successful career. The one thing that you have to know how to communicate with other people, express your idea, and then also communicate with other people. Okay, because you also have to, in some case, you have to sell your ideas. So the communication skill from the oral and the presentation skill, they are both equally important. Then the second one is basically create networking. Because I know most of you are IEEE members. IEEE is a very important professional society. So when you join the IEEE, you don't just go over there and present your paper. You have to meet with the technical leader and then network with them. So you will never know. Your first job may come from someone you meet in the IEEE conference.
How about you, John? What are your thoughts on this question?
Well, I would say that in 54 years in IEEE, the three benefits that I've received that have helped me in my career are the three things Dr. Lee just talked about, okay? One is learning technology to the very extent, but two is networking, okay? 5 of my 6 job changes were good friends with my dad in 50 years. That's how important the network is. If I have a problem I need to solve and I don't have any information on my phone, I have people on my network that would be happy to help me. Okay. Third is leadership experience. IEEE gives you, as a long-term organization, tremendous opportunities for leadership. These are opportunities you wouldn't necessarily get in your own company as a young person, but at IEEE, they're readily available. So the young person, you get a lot of leadership experience as a young that you would get in your company. I took a public speaking course my first year working full-time at night at the Carnegie public speaking course. Paid a lot of money to do it, but I knew public speaking was absolutely necessary for success. And I wrote a lot of papers and articles, as many as I could, just to get practice in a technical writing. So these are the things that you should think about. And also career planning. Don't think your company is going to plan your career for you. You've got to drive that with whatever company you're working for. Take the initiative yourself, short-term goals and longer-term goals, maybe 5 years out.
What about you?
Raise your hand if you're a senior or about to be on the workforce. One of the professors said, well, put your hands on your eyes, all professors. How many of y'all have a high level competency ready and all the technical stuff you need to go to that mark? Everybody raises some hands. Yes. If you really think you got it, you're going to get out there and go, wait a minute. And you're not supposed to know it all. You have been the main thing you should pick up besides it's critical thinking skills. And it's very important. You bring those critical thinking skills. It's very important to us that you not look at status quo and ask the question why. If someone makes sense, don't be scared to ask why. And if you get a good answer, you'll probably not a really good reason for the why. And so, it's easy to get it right, all of us, when we do certain things in certain way. Good lives are always together. John mentioned the difficulty in 6th grade. To repose the absolute But I decided that either I was going to work for people and basically anything else, I was going to be acceptable. And so Toastmasters is a less way to do that for a longer time. And go and with a set of folks. But another thing is as I said, when I'm going to face a decision, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? Do not let fear hold you back. That's that question, what would I do if I was afraid? That doesn't mean take all your money, take your Las Vegas.
That's really funny. That's really funny. So I know that building a business strategy is really hard. For example, I may not be in the industry, but this event really took a bunch of hours and a full team to be hands-on and cooperating and meeting the same goal, which, as you can see, I think is running pretty much successful for both online and in person. So thank you everyone for attending. So the question would be, how do companies balance innovation and profitability in the energy sector? What does it take to turn an idea into a successful business strategy in the space? What are your thoughts on this, Fazil?
Yeah, in my experience, it's, I think someone would have said earlier, it's fail fast, fail forward. But you need to do it within the framework of the organization that you're working in. So my present company is a $10 billion company. They have certain risks that they're willing to take and certain risks that they're not willing to take. And so again, it comes back to working as a team, identifying the opportunities. There's so many, right? So putting them all on the whiteboard, figuring out how to prioritize them. Which ones are going to be commercially viable sooner than the others? It's constantly moving. That whiteboard that I just painted for you guys right now, it's crazy, right? But that's what's exciting. And if you can organize that, organize your team, and show forward progress, then you'll gain support. So I think outcomes, like Dr. Chris was saying, you got to take risks and you got to try new things. So, the last company was a startup. We started with $0, zero revenue. We had investors. And so it was very fast paced, and we were trying to talk to as many people as possible to find the market for our product while we were trying to get the patent done, while we were going through UL certification. And we just were like, hey, trust us, this battery is going to work. Well, guess what? Kroger believed that, and they took the risk on us, and we put that battery in their facility. So, and NRG, prior to that, they didn't want to take much risk until the product and the solution was fully baked and ready for the market, right? So they wouldn't have done that for Kroger. So it's really about learning from your leaders, what has been tried in the past, the frameworks, and understanding, how you can make an impact as a contributor on the team.
I know in the classroom a little bit where we're learning how to present and sell our skills, especially in the renewable energy sector. So what are your thoughts on this question?
Yeah, good. So, in my class, there's a continual analysis. So there's a lot of innovation out there, and even you should be working on innovating, coming up with ideas. When you're close to the challenges, you're thinking about it all the time. So, there's a common analysis method that involves both technical analysis, economic analysis, social analysis, and a sustainable analysis. And so just continually be screening new ideas and innovative things, checking it for those different things, and then kind of wrapping all that around a business plan and continuing analyzing, does it work? And like I say, you start with small. There's a called a stage gate process where you start with a small test, low cost investment, do the analysis, see if that de-risks it one step, then go to a little larger, and then continue on until really everything makes sense. And that's really the way that successful companies bring something from just an idea to a true business case without sinking the boat, as they say.
What about you, Mark? What do you see in ONCOR dealing with business strategies?
With everything he tries, success is affection of things. You asked how fast is what I heard. it's pretty cool, but you don't want to drag something out when it's not going to work. I'm a particular case for relative use. At the same time, we got to always be continuing. Can't have continuous improvement without reinventing things over time. So, continuous improvement needs to be something to keep very focused on. We don't do lots of pilots for the sake of doing pilots. What we do is we look at problems, try to figure out a good solution, and we try to get a full like from the systems out. So we looked at it to see what it looks like it's going to be a lot of it. And then we start on a journey. And the first phase of that journey may appear pilot. You don't need a lot of folks to they see it every day or something and say, oh, this is the day. Let's put the process. We look at our kind of solutions, a full we'll see it. And then we'll start launching. Occasionally we'll wrong. But we'll wrong and work very fast and go on to this.
Nice. So in my internship, there was a thing that I think was a highlight of my internship, which was storm duty. My company was able to help out ONCOR, basically secure an area that the line was down for nobody to get harmed.
So the question would be, power outages, cyber threats, and grid failures require quick thinking and strong leadership. Can you share a time you faced a critical decision under pressure, and what lessons did you learn? You have something with you, Mark?
I guess the one that would be highlighted most is we had a Uri situation in Texas that was one of that generation. So on Saturday, we're going to tell us that the same agency she had 2,500 megawatts, 5,000 on the outside, then they have a 7,500. What many wants to that? So we got a lot of protection plans to be able to accomplish that. And you have to, if you don't have a generation, you got to balance the frequency with something. And the only way to balance the frequency if you don't have generation is to replace the power. So, well, 2 in the morning, all of a sudden, the thing was going to fall off the cliff where it was. When it's supposed to fall off the wind about 5 or 6, that's what we need, like, 300 for this, so megawatts, all these plans. And boom, I mean, out the gate, it just came down. And we came within about 4 minutes of losing the entire Texas grid. It been black. And so we were able to recover it. Well, in the middle of that, a couple of things happened. One is the automatic load shedding people got overwhelmed because it's never something to shed. That volume of load that quickly, because it got to where we couldn't even. So we had to get up to the manual ways, we set up we trained for contingencies, we did all that. We got deeper and deeper into it, and I made sure that all our people out there in Black Star processes sit on the desk with them. You don't start looking at it black, so we get that going. I took a position, it's not a very long position, but it's the correct position, that we shed everything we needed to. Because if you let go black, all the way up for many days. So we didn't actually have to do that. So we told her cut up and said, we said, no, we can't do any more. And we were prepared to reach from 4,000 for a full, not just our prorated share. So we could effectively make her cut with. If you ever took the prorated share, it'd be closer to 30 gigawatts. And it was the right decision at the time. A lot of pressure to let's see this. Let's be sure we take this to Marcus. You know, when you're sitting there fighting for survival, you can't be lying. So that's probably the mindset. And you're doing this.
Having to remember that must have been a really a big important decision. What about you, Doc? What critical decision you have to make under pressure?
I guess there's two critical types of decisions. There's the time critical decisions, like Mark was talking about, where you have to act very fast and do the right thing. And really that comes from training. Obviously, you had procedures in place, you knew what to do, you thought about it. And so being able to forecast, think ahead about things that might happen, to be ready for them is what, how to solve time critical challenges. The other one is high stake decisions, where something happens, maybe it's not so time critical. The important thing there is not to overreact, to react quickly. And in real high stake decisions, the importance is to first gather information. A lot of times you hear about something, but you want to make sure that you have all the information about what's going on. You want to get information from as many people as you can to help make that decision. And then you also want to have a process for making that decision with certain metrics to help you decide one thing or another if it's that type of decision.
Nice. What about you, John? You hold many leadership positions. So what decision do you have to make under pressure?
The one that was the most pressure because first in my career, I was only 27 years old, and I was just hired. It was my second company in my career, and it was a 10-year-old skating company in Santa Clara, California. It was just bought by Berry, global power engineering company at the time, and the SCADA company did generic SCADA. They had no power system applications. They were just vanilla SCADA type. And the Berry bought them and said to the CEO, you're now owned by this global company. How many power engineers do you have on your staff? The CEO said, none. So I suggest you hire at least one. So I was hired as the first and only power engineering company. Little did I know, first day on the job, the CEO, founder, says, hey, John, and we did a project, it was $1 million SCADA AEC system, automatic generation program, $1 million in 1979. And we did 4 power application software applications on the SCADA platform, and we don't have the software. We lifted material from other companies from their proposals and included it in this proposal as if it was our own. Unbelievable. This was all happened before I joined. Now, we made the final list of finalists in the competition, and we had a meeting in 1 week in Los Angeles with a consultant on the project, and you're our power system expert, and you're the one that has to validate the fact that we have these 4 applications, and we know what they do. By the way, the consultant has 40 years experience in the industry in these applications. And now remember, you couldn't get information in 1979 on the internet.
Yeah.
Where am I going to get information on AGC, kinetic dispatch, interchange state and interchange evaluation in 1 week and learn them enough to respond to questions from a very experienced consultant? And really the success of winning that $1 million project from the company and the team rested on my shoulders. Because power was something that this company had done before. That was 1 week of unbelievable pressure. I didn't know I was getting into when I joined the company. So it was all getting information was very difficult. And then studying it and knowing these 4 applications without any background, and then being able to represent it to a consultant was a lot of pressure. Fortunately, I did okay. We won the project. Then my second critical thing was we don't have the applications, and we just signed a contract with an 18-month schedule. That's another story. I did to that. But we won the project, so the first one was successful. But given like Mark's situation, I'd say even though it's hectic, the best way to learn is baptism by fire. The best way to learn is being under pressure, having a short time period, and you can do remarkable things. You know, when your butt's on the line and you've got to produce, you go all out, and it's amazing how much you can accomplish.
And they can remember every single detail of the being under pressure for them. It speaks volume by itself, as you can see. So my next question will be, the power industry is historically slow to change, but we're now seeing a push for AI, automation, and decentralized systems. How do you balance innovation while ensuring reliability? You want to start us off, Fazil?
Yeah, so, you know, Generac our business is reliability. We are, by volume, the largest manufacturer of natural gas engines. We're most known for providing homeowners with the natural gas backup engine. So reliability is core for us, and it's been core for us for 65 years. So I think that, you know, don't fix what ain't broke, right? So that has continued to be useful. You have seen over the last couple of years that natural gas power generation has boomed, and then it's come down, and now it's part of the boom again. And I think looking forward, you know, we have to meet these demand requirements, continue to utilize the technologies and the processes that have been proven reliable over the last, you know, since electricity was created. At the same time, we need, like I said earlier, all of the above, all new different types of technologies. And so the innovation is coming from industry in the form of different types of solutions. And, you know, we now have better technology for geothermal. We have better ways to use the energy from these wells. Texas is in a great position for that. We are also innovating at the transmission level, looking at very, very high capacity lines that can run very long distances. So, you know, I'm confident that, you know, as long as we, you know, continue to use a lot of what we relied on in a smart, sustainable way, and we continue to leverage industry and work with, you know, ONCORs and all of the companies and organizations that are required to make this system work perfectly every second of every day, then we to make progress with meeting these demand requirements.
Thank you. I think, Dr. Lee, your perspective is going to be interesting since you come from academia. So what are your thoughts on this question?
Well, when you look at it here, and we all like to, inside academia, we all like to explore the new technologies. However, when you look at this one here, the traditional utility generation facility will be there. Even we try to embrace the renewable energy, however, it will coexist. And then people are talking about 2050 net zero carbon emission, the goal. So how can we do this? How to do the transition from the basically traditional generation technology to the low carbon emission resource? So that is basically the mix of the traditional one, technology and the innovation together. So that is basically here. I will basically work with Chris and the UTA establish a resource and energy engineering program here. So that is this program. We try to bridge the traditional technology and the new technology. So we always say, okay, we train the engineer for today and the tomorrows. So this is something that as a student, if you try to make yourself marketable, then this is the technology, this is the job skill you have to equip.
Nice. What about you, John? Since you're a big leader in smart grid modernization.
Reliability and safety are very critical of everything that we do. Reliability, all of that is making sure that everyone in the organization has the information they need at the right time to make the right decisions. I say, some of the key things we did today was integration and interoperability, right? Two key words. When a utility puts in an ADMS, Advanced Distribution Management System, that is done correctly, only 30% of the total project cost is the cost of the system from the vendor. 70% should be the cost to integrate that system with many other systems in the enterprise. Integration and interoperability are key, but to be successful, particularly with different vendors' devices, standards-based technology is critical. And so you really need a good familiarity with industry standards. Mark's been involved for many years in protection. I've been involved in many years in substation, writing the standards, leading the standards, and it helps you with your career. You really need to be familiar with what's happening. And I would say the last thing is testing. You can't do enough testing. And in the smart grid projects we did after the stimulus funds came out in 2009, GE, we thought we were doing enough testing. And so we were doing, you want to test in the factory before you get to the field. Debugging something in the field is much more difficult than in the factory. Factory has ongoing specialists. But what we failed to do was adequate end-to-end testing. So we had a smart meter business at the time, and we tested the meter, the metrology card with the NIC card. The NIC card is the network interface communications card, and it worked fine. We get out of the field. Now all those meters, we need to test those with the head end system, the network management system in the office. But we hadn't tested that effectively. And that's where, you learn and not only test thorough testing, but end-to-end testing of what you're doing, from the device to the substation, up to the control center, up to the top. So, you do as much testing, as much integration as you can to help, make sure that everything is reliable and safe.
I agree with reliability and safety because my sample project, I think I tested it too much that I saw my houses burn down. And Dr. Story can attest to that. Now, moving on to the next question. I think, how can students and young professionals effectively build relationships and network in the power and energy industry? Let's get started with you, John, because I know you have a big, strong network.
Yeah. As you get involved in things that IEEE-HKN, make it a point that every person or group you interact with, don't just say hi, how are you, and then you leave, but really show an interest in the other person. Really show an interest in the group. Really try to think of any way you can help that person, help that group. Because then at some point down the road, when you need help, they'll remember how you helped them, they'll really help you. And also, if you provide value and help a person, they'll be a long-term friend, not just a transactional short-term. Okay, you want to build a network of contacts that you keep up with as much as you can on a regular basis. You want to be active on LinkedIn. That's a good way to expand your network of contacts. You keep up with what's happening in the industry by what's posted, and people keep up with what you're doing with what's posted. And as I said, 5 of my 6 job changes in 50 years were through friends that I have. So I've never lost an IEEE international election of any position. I've always got many more votes than any competitor. Because, when people find out I'm running, I've helped so many people just subconsciously that people say I can give back to John by voting for him. So you forget, you just subconsciously, every time you interact with someone, try to make a long-term friendship. Really don't talk about yourself. Show interest in the other person. Really ask the other person about what they're working, what they're doing, what they're involved in. And you'll build, over time, you'll build a network that's larger than you imagine.
Try to make sure to keep me in your network, John. Yeah. How about you, Dr. Lee? What about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, that from the basically try to make yourself relevant, and basically one thing, very important one, is the power industry change very fast. So make sure you make yourself marketable. Okay. So the other one is that the lifelong learning is very important because the technology is changing. So that is basically, okay, well, that you have to keep up with the technologies. And of course, we are from university, okay, advanced degree is very important. Okay? I always tell people, when you get a master degree, people still call you John or call you Mark. But then you get a PhD, people call you Dr. So-and-so. Okay, and then the other one is the certificate program. So it's basically, if you don't have time to learn the whole spectrum, that some specific topics is very important to sharpen your skill. Okay, and then the other one is the professional license. Okay, I always encourage my students, before you graduate, pass your FE exam. And then hopefully you also can pass the PE exam. Because now the law changed, you can take the test immediately and pass it, and then you accumulate your working experience. To that 4 years for the undergraduate, 3 years if you have an advanced degree, then you get a PE license. Okay, so then the other one is, okay, engage in the professional society. As John mentioned, that when you get into the society, you don't just go over there. Well, I always tell people you have three purposes. One is present your research result. You submit a paper, you present a paper. The second one is, well, imagine when you attend a conference, how many people work in the background to make the conference happen. So involved in the conference organization or in the operation of the committee or the society. Third one is, again, echo with John and Mark's that the comment standard development. Okay, inside the society, we have a lot of working group that perform the standard development or update. So this is a very important opportunity for you because you will be able to work with subject matter expert in the area. So that advances your skill very, very quickly. Because my personal experience, I involved in the standard development back in early 90s. And along the way, well, last year, I received my IEEE standard certification, Lifetime Achievement Award. So that is the basically, you involved, you can, it's a two-way street. You contribute, you also earn the reward. So this is the important one in when you try to develop the career.
Thank you for those comments. What about you, Fazil? How's it within the industry?
First of all, everything you just said, I hope was recorded because I would need to give that to my 12-year-old son now. And it was almost like a beautiful cake, starting with the base and the cherry on the top with awards and certifications and so on. So very well put. I think that a couple things that I'd say is that number one, LinkedIn. What I do is anytime I meet somebody, after I meet them or I talk to them, I go on LinkedIn and type in their name and I click connect. They should remember me. I'm pretty high rate of success with them adding you, right? The other thing is that I think there are a number of like really, really good conferences. This week was Distributech, 19,000 people. You guys as students can attend these conferences, typically for pretty cheap, I think, you know, and you can go and check out these thousands of booths and all this different innovation that's going on. And at the same time, you can ask questions. People understand your students, so they're happy to help and give you some of their knowledge and connect with you and hope that you succeed. The other thing, aside from Distributech, I'd say is that here in Dallas Electric Club, great little easy way to go and attend meetings and hear what's going on in the industry and in our Metroplex. Also, I'd say go to the Gulf Coast Power Association, another great conference where you can stay abreast of all of the things that are happening in this dynamic energy market at all levels. And then also for renewable energy, there's a conference called RE+. This is a big group. And I think I'm missing one or two, but, you know, to go along that, Association of Energy Engineers. When I first got into industry, I couldn't qualify for certified energy manager, but there are lesser certifications that put you on that track, such as business energy professional. Recently, I took a course through University of Texas Graduate School to better understand all of the technical requirements in order to build an AI and system. So in continuous learning and continuous networking, and again, get on LinkedIn. There's lots of great profiles that you can use to kind of understand how to format your own. So do that, be active.
Thank you for that. It's true. I'm moving on to the next question. What was the biggest challenge you faced early in your career, and how did you overcome it? Want to start it off, John?
Yeah, this was very tough. There was a skating company in Santa Clara. I was there a year, and unexpectedly, my manager left the company. I'd only been there a year. I was 28 years old, and had never been a manager before. And so the CEO and founder of the company that hired me the year before, even though everyone on the team was much older than me, everyone had been married at least once. Single guy, just my second job. He asked me, he said, everybody, I'm going to be the new man. I'm going to be the manager of the group. Okay. So during that first year, I had socialized with a lot of the folks. We had done things on weekends and evenings and stuff. A couple of lessons that really I experienced that I didn't expect. One was that the social relationship I had with the people on the team changed when I became the manager. I didn't want to, but they looked at me and talked to me. It depended on the person, but when somebody works for you, they will see you in a different light than if you're a peer and you get together socially. And it bothered me because I didn't want that to happen, but it happened. Okay, so it was a good lesson. Second was, this is the CEO came to my office one day and said, I want you to fire this person by the end of the day. And this was a fellow, again, I socialized with. And so by the end of the day, I'd never done that before. Yeah. I had to fire this person. The next one was, I had a person on the team who kept talking like they were the best worker on the team, best worker in the company, God's gift to the world, and didn't do anything. Older, experienced person, but didn't do anything. Big talker. So I had to put this person on a performance improvement plan, right? For 90 days. We met every week, targets to accomplish, right? What progress. Every week we're meeting, no progress is being made, okay? At the end of the 90 days, nothing. And I couldn't have been clearer on what had to be done. So we get rid of the guy. Well, he hires a lawyer, files for unemployment, and I'm a young guy, right? I'm at a labor board with a labor judge, with our HR manager, against him and his attorney presenting our case. The lesson I learned was when you become a manager, you can never have enough detailed documentation for what you do. You have to document everything. And I had all the this person, all the meetings I had, and the labor judge ruled in favor of us. It would deny him unemployment. Okay? And let me finish with one more thing. This is California in around 1980. A fellow that was on my team. We did things socially, had a midlife crisis, married with 3 kids, divorced, still lived in the same house as his ex-wife, bought a Harley, hung out at biker bars. This guy was a hardware engineer. In the morning, he was very productive. And I'm being very candid here. At lunch, he brought a lunch in an aluminum foil as his dessert. Remember the Alice B. Toklas movie introduced the concept of marijuana-laced brownies, okay? So every day at lunch, he had the brownies in aluminum foil, and he ate his lunch. His productivity in the afternoon just went down. And you know, he just, midlife crisis, didn't come to work at 8, left before 5. So again, the CEO came to my office and said, by the end of this afternoon, I want you to fire this guy. And this was a fellow that I knew very, very well, you know. But when you looked at what he was going through and his lack of productivity in the afternoon, he wasn't doing what he's. So I was 28, 29 years old, experienced in these things as a manager the first time. These are some of the hardest things I had to deal with. I mean, they were extreme things that I dealt with at a young age, and not just one, but multiple things for 2 years in my first management position.
Again, I'm going to have to learn how to do that as well. How about you, Dr. Boyd? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 2 things struggle with early career. The first one is sort of learning that difference of when to persevere and when to stop. And so I could say we had a lot of successful projects that I've worked on in my life. The first natural gas storage wells with a third party owned. We did some of the best fuel cell electrolyzer work at the time. We put in some of the earliest utility-sized energy storage, put in some of the largest solar systems in the United States. All these things have all great successes, but underneath that, there's so many failures, so many bad projects, things. But nothing good happened without an incredible amount of perseverance, and without people constantly telling you can't do it, without, at the end of many days, going, this isn't going to work, you know. We got to stop this. But then, you know, persevering, and, you know, they made it. And there was a lot of other things where if we had stopped things and just said, hey, this is not stop, it would have probably done some real damage to the company. So kind of, and again, it goes to that earlier when I talked about really being able to analyze things with kind of metrics, both, you know, technical metrics, social metrics, economic metrics, and sustainable metrics. Then the other early thing, and this goes back to what we talked about a lot of teamwork, is when I grew up, we worked on teams like a chain. And how strong is your chain? Only as good as the weakest link, right? So you're constantly battling this. There's a lot of tension in your team, actually. I've got, I think, another definition to think of, another analogy for a team is and you're electrical engineer. So a team is more like a multi-stranded cable. And so at times you're going to depend on one another. And a cable is more flexible and has a lot more strength than a chain. So if you think of your team relationships as more like a multi-stranded cable than a chain, I think that's, you know, it's a different way to think about relationships, a different way to think about your team. I like what John said is instead of thinking people as just colleagues and networking to make, you know, mutual relationships, is really think of people as, hey, this is a lifelong friend that, you know, enjoy just having coffee with or a dinner with and hanging out with. If you go into life, it's kind of everybody that you interact with might be that person. It really changes the way you treat people.
Nice. How about you, Mark? What are your thoughts on this question?
Yes, I was in I moved to Dallas. I was graduated in summer office. And I went back to supervise the same group this summer. So that was my introduction to supervision. People wrong with much more emotionally difficult to deal with the technical problems. Always will be. You always want to be sure, and you terminate legal. You always want to be sure that you did everything you could to get the better chance you could to do what they needed to do. You never want to make you quit. But I want to go to a whole other direction. So, going back and supervising this group, I really became very much a workaholic. When you send your wife to a mom's class to practice, that's not good. But with balance life, or women exercising, ended up with anxiety and panic attacks and stuff like that. It was terrifying. So I ended up working through that. Where I got some professional help to help me do it quicker. But no, you've got to live a balanced life. Don't get so focused on only one. Because your house is unfortunately, I was able to work through it, recover from that sort of stuff, and rebalance myself and be a lot better shape.
Thank you, Mark, for those comments. All right, now moving on to the next question. I think coming from my experience, my point of view, my freshman year, I knew that AI was not a big thing. I actually had to persevere and actually study a lot more harder than I thought I had to my freshman year. But then coming on to senior year, AI has helped a lot, and it changed basically the landscape of what the power energy sector is going through right now. So my question would be, technology and power and energy is changing so fast. How can young professionals ensure they stay relevant and continue growing in their career? What do you think about this, Fazil?
I think it comes back to what we talked about earlier, which was, I use LinkedIn, just was mentioned earlier, to, try to track and monitor and learn about different things that are going on in the industry. Because when you do that, it's like any other social algorithm, the information that you find interesting and relevant comes to you. And so that's going to extend. So number one, stay abreast of what's going on. Like I said, additionally, those conferences are a great way to stay abreast of what's going on. And, formats like this, forums like this. So, again, appreciate you guys putting this on. And, I think I'm still learning a lot, and there's so much that you're not going to know. And the perseverance thing is huge. Like I said, 4 years, I felt like I was that picture of the guy with the pickaxe, and, the gold is just on 3 inches through the mud away from you, right? And that was 4 years. And I've been in entrepreneur yesterday, stuck with it for 18 years. In Durham's an EMS business and sold it to a multi-billion-dollar organization. So it is very difficult, but as long as you are taking action and trying to educate yourself, then that's the best thing that you can do, along with managing the anxiety. When you're young and you're coming into industry, you are definitely motivated to try and make an impact. And, like I said earlier, fail fast. But you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your health. The 4 years I spent as an entrepreneur was 4 years of anxiety, and I think my wife really hated it. And, now I'm at a big, stable company, and I've learned a lot about how to be balanced and, spend quality time with people, build quality relationships. So, it's not one thing you can do. It's doing a lot of different things. You got to think about it like you got a number of chess pieces, and, you're trying to advance a lot of things forward. So, be active and just learn as much, continue to learn as much as you can, because it does not stop here. Fortunately here in school, you have a a format that you're basically checking through in order to acquire the knowledge. When you get into industry, there's no real perfect, sequence to obtain information. Other than you have to go out there and find the information and the relationships and apply yourself.
Those are some great points, and thank you for that. What about you, Anthony? Can you add on to that?
For me,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, but basically, when you talk about the current technologies, Brenda talked about AI side. Actually, in the power system, we have used AI for a long time. Right? Since 90s, that we talk about artificial neural network, low focus. So that is the basically you have to ask in the power system, where you have to balance the generation and the load. Then that basically you look at the behavior, look at the temperature, okay, look at the consumption pattern, then you try to predict how much load will be online, and then how can you balance it out. So along the line, currently we look at it, well, when you look at it, people working on the digital twin, and then try to look at the, offshore wind farm. You cannot go over there whenever they have a problem, you discover the problem, you may not be able to fix it immediately. So how can you use the model to predict the performance, and you also decide when you really have to go out and fix it. So this is a lot of technology on the AI side. Basically, from the electrical engineering point of view, we always say, okay, we are going to use AI to improve our work or improve our assignment. Okay, unlike the computer science engineering, they try to design AI engine. From the electrical engineering point of view, we are more on the user side. So how can you utilize AI to improve efficiency or improve the reliability of your work? It's very important.
Thank you. So, John, I think that one of the ideas you want to share with the board is continuous learning. What are your thoughts on this session?
To really stay relevant, it's not enough to be, well, what would say, 100% internally focused, which means if you're a student, 100% your studies, really do the best job you can in school. You'll do well in school, but you don't know what's happening in the world around you. Okay? You really need a balance between internal and external focus, whether you're a student or whether you're working full time. How you stay relevant is what you do external to your job or as a student. IEEE is a great avenue for that. But look for outside organizations that are strategic to what you're doing as a student or your job that will help you learn more, much quicker. And, I've done online courses for IEEE PES, IEEE Smart Grid, and IEEE Educational Activities. A lot of that is free. The IEEE Research Center has a tremendous number of online educational things that are free, So there's a lot of opportunities. The other one is, Fazil says, LinkedIn. I'm giving a webinar virtually probably once every 2 weeks, and they're all publicized on LinkedIn. There's a link, and you can register. There's no cost, and there's so many opportunities on LinkedIn for many people doing virtual things that you can participate in and learn a tremendous amount. But lastly, it's not just what Fazil and Mark has said, and my own experience. It's not just that, but you got to take care of yourself. You won't be as effective learning, you won't be as effective seeing, you won't be effective interacting with people if your health isn't good, okay? And I can tell you, it's very easy to get into the rut of traveling, eating big dinners late at night, and really enjoying that. I have 4.6 million miles I've flown on Delta, so I did this for a long time. And at 59 years old, I reached the highest weight of my life. And I played sports all my life, but I let that go. And I said, I'm going to keep getting bigger unless I make a drastic change. My daughter said, Dad, you need to come to boot camp with me. My trainer became a professional football player who played for the Atlanta Falcons and the Chicago Bears. And at 73 years old now, I go to 5 to 6 boot camps every morning, walk my dog 3 miles every day. And I pride myself, everyone is younger than me at boot camp and I can beat them all. So I pride myself on being, and I ran 5K races for many years with my age group. So you want to, I found it's not that you don't have time. So if you exercise, when your health is good, you will be a more efficient worker. And you'll get work done quicker, and actually it's an ecosystem that helps each other. So take care, have a balance between external activities, technical, work-wise, but also your health. You have to take good care of yourself.
I can attest to that. I want to do there's pictures. Maybe those big video. All right, last question, and then we'll move on to the live Q&A. If you haven't, I haven't told you, if you don't know, I recently got a mentor. 3 months, so not that recent. My name is John McDonald. So my question is, John, what role has mentorship played in your career in helping students find and benefit from good mentors?
I know, as you get older, in your career, like Mark and I did, you don't realize how much you've experienced in your career. You also don't realize how much that can help younger people. And it's important for us to give back. We had people help us in our career. And now it's important to give back. As you get older, though, you want to keep up and stay current with technology. You also want to, no matter how old you are, you want to think young. It's a challenge, but you want to think young. You want to be in good shape. You want to be able to compete with younger people. And the best way to do that is spend as much time with younger people as you can. Mentoring, helping, knowing what's important to them, opening doors, seeing them be successful. That's you reach a point in your career where I don't need any more awards and recognition. I've got plenty of that. The greatest feeling I have now is when I've helped a younger person achieve something they didn't think they could achieve, and they're so happy, their confidence is much greater, and they look at you and say, I couldn't have done this without your help. It's like, for me, it's like many more kids. And I want to take care of all my kids as if you were my family, was my child. And that's what's important. So I keep up with technology. I see what's important to young people and how I can help. Right, the more time I can spend, and it helps me stay up with the important things today with changes and what I really need to be familiar with.
Thank you, John. Now, how about you, Mark? I know Ben speaks very highly of you.
Yes, it's got a little bar. Bill Fletcher was the guy that seems to look for my personal mentor. Very kind guy, loving, and blunt. Sometimes you got blunt. I was very good technically and getting stuff done. Didn't do a good job of documentation. And he explained to me that he hoped that I should get. He explained to me that I wasn't going to get that job, like I just was a gap. And we didn't have to do that. We just sent another guy over. He was very straightforward and blunt. So, mentors tell you what you need to know, not necessarily what you want to hear. I'm not in a job, I'm just in the mid part of my career. I'm still, the species say the picture and the system important for that. what I do when I'm interviewing folks is, number one, I try to really know who they are, and more important, I try to get them to be able to put down on paper who they are. So we start off with the first mission statement, which is a deal that it's everything about their life, including their professional. It's in the physical aspects, spiritual aspects, social aspects, everything about their life. I want them to be able to put on paper so they can articulate. Because anybody can target if you just shoot an arrow off the target. That's their most human life. So this gives you the opportunity to put your target out there. And then it's not to about, you know, everything is out. And then the next layer is you build action plans on a periodic basis that maybe yearly, 18 months, whatever, on out there, the good period of time that have measurable goals and objectives. And those measurable goals and objectives will support the mission statement. That makes sense. And then the last thing is to have a weekly plan. And on that weekly plan, you put down those two things that support your action plan. Because frankly, many people go through life working on other people's priorities. This gives you the opportunity really to work in the quadrant of not urgent, but very important. Most people are always working in the rush of urgent quadrant, sometimes it's important, all the time it's not, always seems urgent. And then they look up and the really important things in life they never really accomplish. So this gives you the opportunity to really take control of your life. And, you know, just like John, at this point of my career, it's not awards and just helping to develop other people and to help develop high performance teams for those people.
Thank you. Now, I think this is the part that we all been waiting for since you get to ask your questions. I legitimately thought I would never say this in my life, but for the people watching online, drop a comment below in the chat, and we will read them for the panelists, and they'll answer your burning questions. Until now, live audience, do y'all have any questions? People will come by and pass you the mic for you to speak or talk. Anybody got any burning questions real quick? One? I got one right now. Pass them the mic real quick. Yep.
What kind of projects do you know doing on your free time?
What
Projects that did at home on your free time?
Be like hobbies.
Hobbies?
Yeah.
Or like creatively, working with.
Also, so I got stuff out here. Is I work till 6:30 or so. I go home and I go to a jogging trail. I get home, I'm going to her husband, $25. So that's a typical day. Got 5 kids, 7 grandkids. That takes up a lot of time. I'm active at the Chinese Institute of Engineers. Like Jonathan, I spent all yesterday, so fairly active. I believe outside of the national level, the Power Energy Society. I spent some time involved in church, very involved in church, and we probably do some probably 2 days a week of church sort of activity. Some kids are growing up in youth groups and stuff, but it's free.
So good. You want some of us to be I think we get a lot of, probably very different responses to the phones. I think, it's going to change as you, in different stages of your career. Hobbies, when I was working during the day, going to Berkeley at night, getting an MBA, playing on a fast pitch softball team, coaching a flag football team, I was very busy, but what I really enjoyed was I built a power amplifier and an AM FM tuner. So I realized by firing up my soldering gun, just in building those two components. That was, when I was really busy with work and with MBA school. But then, as you get older, I think now it becomes grandchildren, like Mark. So I've got 2 grandchildren who live 10 minutes from me, and a 3rd grandchild that's moving closer to us, and then a 4th one born in July. So you end up going to lacrosse games, baseball games, and spending a lot of time with the grandkids. I think the other thing is, what can you do with your spouse? The grandkids is one, but the other one is travel. Find places that you both want to enjoy doing and do as much traveling as you can, because that's a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's gonna sound a little silly, but Legos. I like buying Lego kits and building, particularly the Formula One cars, because I think they're nice. But to that end, maybe not as relevant for you guys, for my kids, I don't, buying them a Lego kit so that they can learn how to follow the instructions is valuable. But also just pouring out a big random box of Legos and telling them to do something creative, I think is also important. So, that early on, I think that was useful for me. Also, learning about other industries, like real estate. Really interested in real estate, do some work in real estate. And now it's actually a lot of what I've learned there is coming together because there's real estate implications in the power generation world. And in the distributed energy resource space, we have to talk to clients about signing a lease agreement for the battery that's going to sit on their behind the meter at their facility. So, learn about other industries as well. I'd echo the one about travel. I think that gaining knowledge on different cultures and different ways, different places, just immensely helpful. And this world is interconnected more now than ever. My dad was a high school exchange student. He came here when John F. Kennedy was in office, and he was the only guy that looked like me in all of Minnesota. And it was a tremendous opportunity for him to learn the principles of being an American. But I think that we also have an opportunity to learn about all the different cultures, and it's all interconnected, especially now with the energy industry as well.
Well, I have some strange hobby. I collect puzzle. 65 million years ago, Texas was underwater. And you can look at a lot of sea urchin, ammonite, snail, or phosphorus. So this is basically when it's possible. I need a quiet time, so I just went out, zoom out, and walk on this riverbed, collect the fossil.
What's your most prized fossil?
It's a vertebrate of phosphorus. Yeah. So this is something that basically you find it's very quiet. Nobody bother you. Sometimes I don't even bring my cell phone with me. Okay, so just think through a lot of stuff while you are walking around, and then that is basically. And then the other one is, basically I like to play with all the electronic gadgets. And the video camera here is basically come from my collection. So that is something that is on the personal side, and it is also in
I was saying I enjoyed sports. I guess we traditionally are in more spread and play sports, play with people, socialize, and play music, and I also play music and sing, and then do have projects that they're on, woodworking, electrical projects, like blaze races, race car.
Scott, yeah. I got none since I'm still a student. Eric?
First of all, thank you so much for being here today after, probably just giving us your time. I really appreciate that. And my question is super quick. I mean, from everything that I've gathered so far, there's just so much knowledge. But is there change your life? Like a leadership book that you can share with us, just a very good book that kind of change and help you model your leadership.
Probably three requirements. One is cinematic. The other is leadership and self-perception, which is a very insightful book. It is using leadership. It's a small book. There's two books at the same time. People should get very nice. Bringing out the best in people. Ellen, Lloyd, and Geddes. Those are the three books. I just say three. Those are good starts.
I'll give you a couple. I finished graduate school, undergrad, started working full time. I wanted to be successful, and I wanted to please everybody. And I found it's called approval seeking behavior, where instead of having a confidence in making the decision yourself, you're behaving to approve other people. For the approval of other people. Dr. Wayne Dyer at the time had a series of books. One was Pulling Up Your Own Strength or something like that. And those books really helped me not change and not do approval seeking behavior anymore, but be confident in my own decisions, whether the other person agreed with me or not. And that's what I needed. And when you're young, and working in your first job, really want to be accepted, but that's not the way to do it. You want to be yourself. The best books I was trained on in the late 80s, if you want to be successful in business with convincing, knowing how to structure a sales situation and being successful, there's two paperback books, most of the Fortune 100 companies train their people on these. And as an engineer, when I saw a sales situation, I said, are they weeding it? I want a structure where I know I'll be successful in a complex setting, like a SCADA system. Strategic selling and conceptual selling by Miller and Hyman are the two best paperbacks to really put a structure on a sales situation and guarantee success. And I trained in these in the late 80s, and I used these consistently to be successful with many companies.
I'm just going to spit out what I read at the time. So, firstly, again, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, read that when I was in school, and coming out of school, helped me to be disciplined in my money management and focus on long-term wealth. And that was immensely helpful. And then going from there, I'd say like some business books that really great. How to influence and influence people. Principles by a hedge fund manager named Ray Dalio. And there's another one I like that sticks out. I think it's called My Iceberg is Melting. It's got some penguins on the iceberg. It's basically about recognizing when an organization is having an issue that may sink them and how to adjust and pivot, take the organization forward. So those are a few that come to mind.
Yeah, for me, basically, I come from different culture. So when I was young, and we look at the different philosophical book, and when I arrived US, especially just new in the position as a department chair. So I'm learning some of the leadership It's basically how to manage, because as a department chair, you manage people more than technical. So this is the basically, it's a big transition for me. Actually, it's also a culture shock, because I have dealt with the technical for so many years, and then try to, yes, when I develop the standard, I basically face some non-technical issue, but this is basically, it's a totally different vocabulary.
1 minute advantage.
Yes.
That's a good show.
I think it's really, actually, it's a Judean Christian Bible that I wrote on the head of degree students on my lives. If you read, it's a very eclectic collection of numerous books by numerous authors that were written over 2,000 years of human history at a point in time where I think people really had more time, more focus on just thinking what life really about. And it's affected me, and not a lot of these other great books will go back to the principles that are in that particular book. And even that book could be a collection of thoughts and things from human history before it was written. So I think, studying that book and then just the content that's in that, and just the joke, the Bible is incredible book.
Actually, previous after everybody enumerates great books that you guys can just go on like ChatGPT and tell me the 5 things I need to remember from all these books. But don't do that. Read the book. Don't really absorb the information.
I was going to say, you don't even have to grade it now. You have to write it, download it, and install it. That would change your life and probably read all these 10, 15 books really fast. Fine.
That's a really good idea. It was just checking all of this. And multiple types of all of the nowadays you put your online library, you like you'd like to hear this excellent to do.
Oh, there's a podcast called Bolts, like BOLTS. That one's pretty good. Interviews with folks that are working on things that are very much in the now.
Yeah, community is a great time to listen to books out there. You used to be anxious, driving along, things are disturbing. Now just listen to tapes. Whatever happens, happens. I'm going to get there when I get it. We're going to learn something on the way.
It's easy just to veg out, but if you give the habit, filling the time, things that will be cheap, it will give you a minute.
There's an online question. I'll read it right now. We are using AI in power sector to predict, but the data centers are also consuming huge power. How do we solve this paradox?
Maybe that's for you. I mean, I can help answer. I think it's for both of us. I say that everybody's welcome, but what I say is that Project Stargate is in Abilene, Texas, and this is a couple of gigawatts of data center that's being developed. And the way that part of the way that they're going to solve for that and is with large scale generation. And the vision is to incorporate different types of generation at that site. But I think the vision is also that generation can provide support to the grid when it's needed, and the data center, not in all cases, but in some cases, can have some level of flexibility in their compute and their energy consumption. So, we're seeing that model, we call it co-location. There's a company called ONCOR that's evaluating ways to bring modular reactors co-located with data centers alongside natural gas turbines and reciprocating engines. So from a market standpoint, I think that These data centers, to the extent that they can be or will be required to have flexibility in their energy management, that's going to be a useful tool for ONCOR and others. So it's all, everybody's trying to figure this out. The numbers that they're asking for from folks like ONCOR and others are static.
Anyway, so on our system today, we've got about 35 gigawatts that they're looking to bring on our system. There are economic challenges about cost allocations that have to be worked through, and that involves political implications. Then you've also got many technical attributes, and they did really one is an AI data center, one is crypto data centers, one is your typical data centers, one Google and whatnot, and then the other is your AI data centers. The crypto folks basically are cost, very low backup, very price sensitive. They're, if you overload or manage right, they can be good load. The traditional data centers also bring with them traditionally about 125% generation for the load, which gives them the ability to switch back and forth to regulate static load conditions. And then your crypto are just like that as far as their backup generation and whatnot, or proper generation. The crypto has special problems in ramp up and ramp down rates. The training models, load goes real high and it falls off. And so we're going to have to get some standards and some agreements on how to take care of the ramp up and down. Because so many of these kilowatt centers want to co-locate electrically close to each other. We got to be sure that fault on the system, the voltage perturbation that have fault causes, they've got to be able to ride through that period. Otherwise, you're going to end up with 4, 5, 6, 10 gigawatts driven off all at once, and overspeed other generators. Well, they go down, starts oscillating back and down. That's what I progress. So there's real technical challenges that have to be done. I'm very confident that Texas can build thanks to the other state in the United States. And I'm also confident that if we build the load center depths, they will show up. Also confident that if we don't build, they can't show up.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think you're in one of the greatest states in terms of the opportunity by a business to access to the resources we're uniquely positioned to offer. And so that basically just boils down to there's going to be a significant amount of growth. And it's not just the big power plants that are going to co-locate with the data centers like I was talking about. It's also, there will be a need for more distributed resources. More homes are going to purchase different types of technologies, whether it's smart thermostats or batteries or vehicle charging or solar. And industrial customers are increasingly embracing different types of on-site energy systems. And so these distributed resources are also going to provide ONCOR and others with additional tools to help manage the grid, while also providing these businesses with energy savings and in their energy transition. So, you look across the topography of this industry in terms of technology, and there's just so many different things that you can look into and understand better, and apply yourself and add value to as you come out of school and help this state achieve these incredible ambitions.
From the data center operating point of view, we have two issues. The other one is the thermal management. So when you look at this way here, even from the power consumption point of view, then you have to look at on the data center, especially on the AI side, they are on the AI training or in the various operation. So the other one, in addition to the co-location, that you also have to look at in the future, how can you utilize the renewable energy into the data centers? So that is basically something that it's a great challenge for you guys, that basically how are you going to operate? Especially in ONCOR, by 2030, at the present time, the peak load is about 80 gigawatts. By 2030, they expect to increase to 150 gigawatts. So among them, about 60 to 70% come from data centers. So this is the basically, and then according to the estimation from the ONCOR, that they say during the training, the power up and down can be 500 megawatts swing. So that creates a lot of challenge to the power system. And so this is a good opportunity, good challenge to the power engine.
You know, there's tremendous challenge in occasions, but relaying, there's just planning. It's a smorgasbord of opportunity. We just need good brains to kind of help. John finally leaves. I'll be here in a while. But we'll need to hand over the keys.
Oh yeah, the power sector is really growing fast, and I agree with Fazil. So I'm about to graduate. There's a bunch of traffic in DFW, so give me 1 or 2 years before y'all move over here to help us grow. That's all I ask for the people watching online. If you do come to Texas, there's too much traffic. Any more questions? All right, Eric, right there.
Hi, I have a question. So you guys all touched on it a little bit briefly over the course of the day, but on failures and setbacks, I was wondering if you could give the time that you had a failure or setback, either academically or professionally, and how you overcame it or how you recommend that we would approach failures.
I'll be real with you, like I didn't do good in college at A&M. It was not my thing to go to history class and sit there and be told that I read like 300 pages before. I was not good. I think that someday I'll be able to come back to school, you know, and then you get to MBA or something, you know, approach it differently and get it 1.0 and, you know, whatever. And, you know, my wife was graduated #1 from UT's business school, and so she don't even know what I'm talking about. Right? And so I think that adversity is going to come, and you just got to be persistent, right? You know, the way I think about it now is if I approach college as like I approach going to the gym, it's consistency. You got to get in there, and some workouts are going to be good, some workouts are not going to be good. And as long as you show up, you're consistent, you put in the work, and you try every day to get a little bit better, then you'll overcome a lot of adversity. I think the perseverance thing is huge as well. You know, I was a young manager, and my boss left, and we were going through, I was at Dominion, major utility, and our little business was being divested, and I was young and had no idea where we were going to end up, what that was going to do to my career trajectory, because before they announced the divestiture, I thought my trajectory was really good. Now there was some jeopardy and risk, and so, you know, I ended up at NRG Energy, which is, you know, one of the largest energy companies, a great company, and great leadership. And it was a time of turmoil because they were trying to be everything in the energy industry. And so you had a culture that was, you know, very challenging. And CEO would tell multiple VPs to all work on the same thing and make them compete. And so coming into that dynamic was very challenging, and there was a lot of adversity. So, again, I think you put in that effort, and at the end of the day, what I find myself is that it's knowledge, experiences, and ability. Fire the knowledge, you apply yourself, show that you can add value and help teams move the ball forward, and just keep showing up.
When anything happens, you can look at it from two ways. One is it could really look at it, it's really gets you down, But the other way is you look at it from a positive light. Say, setbacks, failures, it's a great learning. Okay, so anytime I have a failure or setback, it's a challenge for me to figure out what happened, how to solve it, and how to do better next time. And with that, you're much better going forward. Without failures and setbacks, you won't learn as much. Okay? So I always say, nothing is ever going to work perfectly all the time. You're going to have failures and setbacks. But it's not bad. Okay? That's how you learn. That's how you get better. And so look at it positively, but really tackle it. Why did that happen? What do I need to do to solve it? How can I avoid it happening again? And then just keep pressing forward. So I look at it from a positive light.
Again, I can't get that together. I knew going to college, all the class was optional. Should go out for the test today. So my first year, I had all C's. They gave me the F in history. I didn't read the books, but I didn't deserve that. That they had, they lost on the test and a respectable D. So, Dad was telling me through school, as long as I maintained a C average, he called me good time Charlie. So, he came in, so I thought, after school, this is love. I still attack, and I tried to work and school at the same time. Still wasn't that interested in school. I smiled when I got to a very fun start. It's how I got through it. The time I was a senior, I started with you do not know how to do this thing. I figured it out. I didn't need it. I still don't know how to start to do it. And calculators. So, anyway, Dad goes out to love. I was working at a burger chef. This would be a really good way to have a career started. So I did it. It's more productive.
I've got a story. Don't know if you can repeat it, but the lesson is just keep going and just keep a cool head. And sometimes when disaster strikes, it doesn't always, something good comes out of it. It was a very intense project we were on, and we were doing final testing on a power device and caught fire. And so obviously we couldn't deliver it on time, and it was part of another larger program that was the AeroVironment's Helios solar-powered airplane. We were adding the electrolyzer to it so it could fly around the block. So it caught fire. I think it was on Monday. So both the NASA folks, Glenn and AeroVironment's management, they all want to come down Wednesday and see what happened and what we're going to do about it. Obviously, everyone's very tense, very stressed. So, fortunately, our team works around the clock Tuesday as far as we can. Wednesday, and they actually came in and we needed all Thursday. I need my crew to be working to figure this out. So I said, well, can you meet Wednesday night, 7 p.m.? And actually, those managers liked that idea. So we said we're going to meet 7 o'clock Wednesday night. This is before virtual, so everyone's there. So we're going there at 6. And I lived close to the house, and we worked like crazy to get this thing ready, come up with ideas, what we're going to do differently, put a new plan together. And 6 o'clock, I just got to run home, get some dinner. I live only like a mile from where we're. Ran home, and I get to the door, and my 4-month-old baby is screaming, my wife is crying, and so I've got like 30 minutes to eat and get back to this meeting. So I just take the baby, put it in the car with me, and I go to this meeting with everybody, and we had one of those little pack and play. I said, sorry, I need to take my baby with me. Put her in, and she sat there where she falls right to sleep. And so I gave my whole presentation, and we talked, we asked her questions, and I mean, who can be mad at a guy that's got a little baby? So it all went well, and we turned around, and just when they started asking, kind of dumb questions like, well, what happens if a meteor falls down and crashes? And, the baby woke up, started complaining a little bit, and I said, oh, I need to go, so we get to take care of feed the baby. So we ended the night, and anyway, the project didn't continue. We got it built, and they gave us a little bit of extension to kind of rebuild it and complete it. And then we got a follow-on project for the next phase. So sometimes everything looks like it's a disaster, and the disasters just seem to keep rolling at you. Just keep pressing on and carrying on, and sometimes things work out.
Yeah, one of the things just to add on to that, I think it's early on, I didn't know about this, and then after one with a lot of issues and school, and then what I was describing to you earlier. I mean, when I surrounded myself with or saw or had an opportunity to see some of the top leadership, irrespective of where you're at, emotional intelligence is paramount. I mean, being able to practice that, staying cool, like we talked about earlier, about this situation. Every really strong leader I've ever been around, their emotional intelligence is very, very high. So I think you guys are at a tremendous advantage to be having an opportunity to learn the principles of that and how to keep people under pressure is a tremendous skill.
So this is the part where we end things, which is sad for online people. For in-person, you have to keep on asking your questions one-on-one with the panelists. So give a round of applause for this good set. I wish I could give you life advice, but I am young, so I still have a lot to learn. So I will just say this. I'm going to steal my mentor's words. If you're stressed, the only stress that you have is the ones that you're applying to yourself. So stop being stressed and have a checklist and just do things, be motivated, and get things done. Other than that, thank you online people for joining. And hopefully you can join the next session and like maybe a semester when I'm gone since I'm graduating. And that's about it. All right. Thank you guys.